Ever since Disney purchased Star Wars and the rest of Lucasfilm in 2012, there's been this negativity surrounding Disney's take on Star Wars. And much of that disdain has ended up on the desk of Kathleen Kennedy, the president of Lucasfilm. Criticism is one thing. I think everyone, no matter who you are, should be open to criticism. It's how we grow and learn to be better humans. But what Kathleen Kennedy gets on a normal basis isn't fair criticism. I haven't talked a lot about Star Wars or Lucasfilm on this channel for a long time, and there's a reason behind that. Anytime I post a video about Star Wars, it just gets all kinds of unnecessary hate. And the fandom that surrounds Star Wars just seems toxic. Maybe you've seen thumbnails on YouTube like this one, or maybe you've seen articles like this one. They try to come off as legitimate, but if you read further, you begin to understand the creator's bias and why they really dislike Kathleen Kennedy so much. There has always been a vocal minority within any fandom whose hot takes are based around hate, but thanks to social media, it feels like the minority continues to have a platform and continues to use it only to create negativity. I've noticed Star Wars in particular has had major problems within its fandom ever since I went to go see The Phantom Menace in theaters back in 1999, but it's grown to levels of sheer harassment. My name's Josh Taylor, this is Modern Mouse, and today I want to defend Kathleen Kennedy, showing her credibility through her past career and why the Star Wars fandom has become so toxic. Kathleen Kennedy has been scrutinized for how she's run Lucasfilm, in particular the Star Wars franchise, but people forget that she was handpicked by George Lucas himself. Her hiring came with the recommendation of so many in Hollywood. She got her big break working with Steven Spielberg as a producer, someone who deals with the business side of filmmaking rather than the creative side. Her first major producer credit was E.T. the Extraterrestrial. She would go on to create the production company Amblin Entertainment with Spielberg and her future husband Frank Marshall. There she became the president of Amblin and would help bring to life movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the Indiana Jones films, the Jurassic Park films, the Back to the Future trilogy, and Schindler's List. She would leave Amblin along with Frank Marshall to start the Kennedy Marshall Company and kickstart M. Night Shyamalan's career by greenlighting The Sixth Sense, as well as producing the Bourne Identity movies. She also worked with Disney's Buena Vista distribution team, bringing Studio Ghibli films to the United States, producing some of the US dubbed versions of those movies. She did all of this before ever attempting to join Lucasfilm. She helped one of the most popular film directors of all time get his films made, and worked with George Lucas, Martin Scorsese, Robert Zemeckis, M. Night Shyamalan, and so many other names. And in the process, she turned herself into one of the biggest female names in Hollywood. Kathleen Kennedy has shaped generations of movie fans. I can't think of a world without Back to the Future or Jurassic Park or Indiana Jones. Would a global audience appreciate the artistry of Studio Ghibli without her? She got to where she is because she believed in creative people, backed them with power and money, and allowed them to make the things they wanted to make. When she finally became the head of Lucasfilm, she continued that trend by putting creative people in charge of projects. Dave Filoni, who had worked with Lucasfilm on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, was given a bigger role in the company under Kathleen Kennedy. He produced Star Wars Rebels, and when asked by Jon Favreau to join him in creating The Mandalorian, he was allowed to do so. She also helped diversify the Star Wars universe and put emphasis on empowering female characters in those stories. These changes have helped grow the audience of Star Wars, bringing in more of a global audience, as well as making the Star Wars fandom a place more welcoming to women of all ages. She may not be the creative mind behind some of the biggest stories of the 20th and 21st century, but she is one of the people that's brought money to those projects and turned them into a reality. And she's created a positive environment, allowing creative people to step up into the right place. And sure, there have been missteps in her leadership with Lucasfilm. Not having a sequel trilogy mapped out with a plan to beginning, middle, and end made the trilogy lackluster to some fans, but those films overall did critically and commercially well. And while some fans will point to a movie like Solo as a big dud, they neglect how popular Rogue One was, or how great The Mandalorian has been on Disney+. It's a show, mind you, that gave Disney Plus its first audience and boosted that service to one of the top streaming services now available. She greenlit the return and finale of The Clone Wars, and several other future projects for Star Wars. Under her leadership, the stories aren't just staying alive, but expanding. If you look at the people that are rallying to kick her from her position at Lucasfilm, you see a lot of similar patterns. They're not excited about progressive storylines, nor are they interested about allowing feminism to take place within their community. Marvel has seen a similar polarizing figure with Brie Larson and her portrayal of Captain Marvel. Sexism and racism is something we still have problems with, and in Kathleen Kennedy's case, she is seen by a select few as inferior and not equipped to tell space wizard stories because she's female. People think that a woman can't understand what makes sci-fi or fantasy storytelling interesting, but that's a completely sexist view of the world. That hate that Kathleen Kennedy gets is unjust. People disliked the Star Wars prequels that George Lucas made, yet people still worship him for bringing Star Wars to life. Set aside the films or characters that you don't like, Kennedy has helped bring Star Wars to the forefront of pop culture again, and has made it a place where people from all walks of life can see themselves on screen. Without her leadership and the revitalized popularity of Star Wars, we wouldn't have seen this stunning growth, not only with films, but also with TV shows and even the new theme park attractions. Could we have seen somebody else step into this role? Yeah, of course. But George Lucas handpicked her because of her background with big production movies. She's somebody who understands how to reach large audiences with big blockbusters. And that's not something that Disney was looking for, it's what George Lucas was looking for. George Lucas wanted to make Star Wars bigger than it ever was, and after purchasing it, Disney not only latched on to that idea, but trusted her completely. And that's another argument of the fandom, that Disney has ruined Star Wars, but realistically, they haven't. People were complaining about Star Wars since long before Disney bought Lucasfilm. Fans hated Ewoks in the 1980s. They hated the portrayal of Anakin Skywalker and Jar Jar Binks in the 90s and 2000s. Disney had nothing to do with those things. Kathleen Kennedy had nothing to do with those things. Yet the short-term memory of some fans pits the problems that they have with Star Wars solely on Kathleen Kennedy, and have been continuing to harass her and many of the other people who worked on the Star Wars films since Disney took over. Like with any work, Kathleen Kennedy's films should be seen under a critical eye, but in no way should she be threatened because a storyline didn't go some fan's way, or because female or non-white characters were given the opportunity to excel within a story that didn't give them the screen time before. By the way, this isn't just a Star Wars thing, it goes across all fandoms, but this is just something that we see in particular right now within that community. And maybe it's time that we stop blaming the people telling us the stories for ruining the stories, and instead look at the fandom for not making it fun to be a fan anymore. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. I'm sure there are a ton of people who clicked on this video, automatically went to the comments section below and typed up some toxic comments. So if you're here, leave a comment down below, leaving something positive, either for the stories that you love or for the fandom that you're a part of. In the meantime, my friends, you can check out another video that's like up over here, or there's another video here if you'd like. These are both about Marvel and Star Wars. Check those out, and thank you for watching again. And as always, my friends, keep moving forward.